Talk to Tyler back at lower trestles. It was the most emotional loss of her career. She admitted that. We saw it. We kind of realized it. She usually shakes off losses like nothing happened. I was really curious to see how she was going to bounce back, Pete.
Well, and obviously the performance was there. She bounced back just fine. It's just when you have like such a big score at the beginning of a heat and you're up against a girl like Carissa and you lose that one, yeah, emotionally it can be a bit charged. And ultimately she had to bounce back from that one, and here we are at the Roxy Pro, and she feels comfortable here, and that's it showed in that performance.
Couple of times runner-up in the world, but now Tyler being 7th coming into the final stretch. What does that mean with her role in the world title race, Rosie?
Well, that's exactly it. We talk about the front runners going for the world title, then requalification, but then you also get to play the spoiler, those ladies that are kind of in that middle mix, like Stephanie Gilmore can spoil people's title race. I mean, Tyler Wright can definitely be a lady that shakes things up. So, those girls are like a spanner in the work, and they can really upset someone's personal goal to win the world title.
Well, one surfer that really needed a huge result, not only here, but in Maui, out of contention on the QS and the CT from the Sunshine Coast, Dimity Stoyle, really well loved on tour. Chose a bigger board, borrowed board from Laura Enever, and it made a huge difference. This was a crazy stacked up matchup. Lakey even got an 8.77 on her backhand. Pete, how did you see Dimity coming through with the win here?
Well, I think that Dimity rides a very unique equipment, right? Her boards are very short because she's a short woman, and they're very wide, and they've got wide tail blocks. And when you have real powerful surf like that, sometimes those boards feel a little bit skitsy. So she went to a board that's going to be narrower, longer, and it really did suit her style. This is a very powerful wave. So ultimately, what it did is she's able to harness the power. She can push a little bit harder, and it shows in her style and her approach in this surfing.
Well, it's interesting in this heat, Rosie. It was really entertaining because Malia caught a lot of waves. I thought she was going to take control, but couldn't break that 6-point range.
Well, like you mentioned, all three of these ladies really putting in a good dig for the lead. I mean, Malia had it for a while. Like you mentioned, Lakey had a great score, but Dimity Stoyle actually using one of Laura Enever's boards a bit longer, and it looked amazing. I mean, when you ride someone else's equipment and it goes that well, you want to kind of steal it and keep it as your own.
Rosie, do you like Dimity being under pressure? Do you think she performs well in that situation?
I just like to see Dimity surfing to her potential. I think you see her take those losses and you can't help but feel that emotion, and then you look at that scoreline of 15.04, she's surfing to her potential.
Well, Pete, you kind of put her on the spot. Gave her the scenario. Last couple events, you're like, you're not qualifying.
It's kind of my job.
And yeah, she took a deep breath and gave you a pretty good answer.
Well, and even offline we discussed it. She doesn't really necessarily know the numbers. Some surfers really go into the numbers and know what they need to do heat by heat, where she's just like, what, I know I have to perform well. I have to go out there and do my job, and whatever happens, happens. And I think that's how she's able to control her own emotion about each and every heat. If she puts the numbers into it, I think it probably makes her a little bit skitsy, whereas now she's just like, what, I just want to surf good. I'm going to try everything I can to surf good. And she did that by trying a board from Laura Enever, and it worked.
Made a big difference. Bigger boards, underdogs taking big wins, which means round 2 is going to be that much more exciting, including a matchup with world number 1 Courtney Conlogue and Chelsea Tuach, which will happen in just a moment. We'll take a break. We'll be back with a WS update. More on the men's action we had earlier this morning after this.
All three surfers, please paddle in and clear competition area. Round 2 will begin soon, so please, all three surfers, paddle in, clear the area. Donc on va pas tarder à commencer, on va demander à tous les free surfeurs, s'il vous plaît, de prendre votre dernière vague et de sortir de l'eau, ou de vous décaler largement plus au nord. Alrighty, jet skis, water patrol, we need you in the water, boys. We need the jet skis in the water. Les jet skis, s'il vous plaît, on a besoin de vous à l'eau pour cleaner la zone et pour assurer, bien sûr, la sécurité et aider les filles pour leur série pour le round 2.
Firing surf and offshore wind greeted the world's best first thing in the morning here on Friday at Hossegor, and round 2 had some heavy decisions, some big upsets in the world title race, but also some fine barrels, big turns from the world's best as round 3 is stacked up and ready to go for more. There's a lot of commitment on the line, broken boards and big wipeouts, but now the stage is set with plenty of swell on the line as we review some of the key heats, buzzer beaters, tiebreakers. We really had it all when you think about what happened today in round 2. The dust is settled as we're still waiting for a start for round 2 of the Roxy Pro. Joe Turpel, Pete Mel, Rosie Hodge. Things started early in the morning. We knew there was world title implications on the line. Right out of the gates with Felipe Toledo and the wildcard Maxime Husseneau.
Yes, and conditions were not easy this morning. You know, you had that really steady, strong swell on this beach break, which, you know, when you had a little bit longer interval, that really stretched out. It doesn't give you a pinpoint on the beach that's going to say this is the spot. So the gut boys were moving up and down. I mean, I experienced it myself trying to find a wave out there this morning. It was challenging. It really was. And that first heat, you know, I got myself in the mix somehow, just got drifted into the peak when I was out in the water. It was hard.
Felipe Toledo got one quick. This barrel that he got at the start, just a 4-ranger, and he sat out the back waiting for more, but it was really hard to come by. Maxime Husseneau started packing a couple of closeouts, and it was super hard for him to find a score.
Well, that's the thing when you watch it wave for wave in these highlight packages, it really doesn't give you an understanding of how difficult it was out there. During the morning, we were watching the sets that were just relentlessly rolling through, so much water moving around. In the first heat of the morning, always really tricky to position yourself and find that spot.
Looking at these conditions, so the locals really wanted to be doing step-offs on a day like today, hunting down piece on skis. That was going down the area. Maxime Husseneau paddled into a wave at the end, just needing a 2.31. He got a 2.5 on the decision. That's a pretty heavy score to get in the middle of a world title race.
And you look at, 6.10. I mean, that's kind of, we've seen this kind of scoring actually happen at Pipeline. Similar type of conditions where it's not that ultimately perfect. There's some really nice waves out there, but you know, just trying to find them, you know, first heat of the morning, it's a challenge. And it was that draining tide too. We were still having the tide go out, and when that's happening, the ocean is really, it's weird because you're getting a lot of water. And then all of a sudden, once we got to that low tide point, and that was at heat number 3, we had Kelly Slater, and he was able to move up the beach. He actually was almost out of the contest area. They were telling him he had to come back. He couldn't go left, but he ended up finding a couple rights.
Well, things totally changed. Kelly found his form, got big barrels. Eritz Aaron Brewer with a 1.93 combined total. Didn't really show his strengths because, as we know, Rosie, Eritz has taken out Kelly in key moments of his career.
Exactly. You know, flashback to last year in Peniche, a round 3 matchup with Kelly Slater, and you just know what he's capable of in big barreling waves. But Kelly, he absolutely rubs his hands together in conditions like this, and he made the most of it this morning.
8.7, 8.67 for Slater as he moves on into round 3. Remember, he had that crazy wipeout the night before we got going in that opening round of competition. So a little bit of a rest, got to regroup, got a couple more boards show up that he might be diving into later on in the week.
Think about that. That guy's got so much to think about, from injuries to almost drowning and dying. Literally, he got knocked out underwater. If he'd gotten hit any harder, I mean, it would have been tough to even get to him. I mean, just all the stuff that's going on in that kid's head and still being able to post 8s, like he just loves, I guess, the challenges like that. Right? Just beat himself up and then and make heats. Hopefully he'll find a rhythm.
Well, he still sees a chance at possible world title if he can get a long way through this event. Well, now we're coming up pretty quickly to starting the Roxy Pro one more time. Round 2, heat number 1 features a great matchup with Joanne Defay and Silvana Lima. We've got the local girl, Joanne Defay, last year's Rookie of the Year. She found her first win this season at the U.S. Open, And what's been happening to Silvana Lima this season, Rosie?
I know, Silvana, I mean, we watched at Cash Guys have another early exit, and she's been, you know, the girl that's had flashes of brilliance throughout the season, and all of a sudden, you know, it's almost like the wheels have fallen off. She's become her own worst enemy. So I really want to see Silvana regather herself and just perform to the potential that she has. You know, she's in that spot of being in danger of falling off the turf for next year.
Wasn't expecting that. Next heat, already matched. Bianca Batendog takes on Alessa Quizon. Peter.
Yeah, this is a good one. You know, Bianca has been in form all season long, so she's obviously the favorite sitting in that red jersey, but Alessa Quizon is now sitting in a qualifying position, but ultimately wants to keep herself safe there, so she is in a pressure situation, wanting to perform. We saw some brilliance, though, ultimately at Cascais, and she's surfing really well, so that'll be a good matchup.
Followed by round 2, heat number 3, Courtney Conlogue takes on Chelsea Tuach. Another big matchup before we leave the beach here in France. We'll probably see the sun go down. We woke up with an early sunrise, and we have some great action that's about to unfold for the call. Let's join Ronnie Blakey and Ross Williams.
Thanks, Joe, Pete, and Rosie. And we are getting set to get this second round underway, and this is where things get interesting. Of course, we're straight into these elimination heats. This is where you don't want to trip up. You can afford to maybe slip up in that first round, but not here, not in round 2. Joanne Defay surfing against Silvana Lima, fighting it out for a spot in round 3. The loser, although will be knocked out with just 1,750 points. The winner keeps their dreams alive and moves through to the third round of non-elimination heat. And Ross, we just saw these two competitors out there just by chance, the way they're sitting on the ratings. They've ended up here in the first heat of round 2. From what you saw in their first round effort, who do you think's got the advantage going into this clash?
Well, you know what? Silvana Lima surfed really good on that one wave that she had where she got a decent score. She had 2 great maneuvers, so her board looks great. Surfing was there, but she fell on the third. So, you know, I'd have to give a slight advantage to Silvana Lima. That being said, Joanne Defay, she's used to winning. She's had a great year. Her confidence is much higher than Silvana.
Well, the thing is, I did notice something. As Tyler Wright made her way in off camera, Joanne Defay got a pretty decent wave in. She threw a nice big carve. She actually had a nice steep section to lay into, and she threw a big fins out frontside snap. So you know, I'm sure she'll take a bit of confidence from that ride going into this battle. And she might have to bring some of that flair against Silvana, because Silvana, you just never know when she's going to fire up and put a huge performance together.
And you've been talking about this today, Ronnie. You know, Joanne Defay, she's one of those competitors that she's safe. She's not going for a world title. She's not worried about requalifying. She's good to go. So she's right there in the middle somewhere. Whereas Silvana Lima, this is it. This is do or die for her. She can't qualify through the QS series. She has to make a lot of heats in this event right here on the CT level. So this is a really cool test for Silvana Lima. She's got to get it done.
She's been groveling for results on the championship tour, struggling at the QS level also. And she has just a .67, a throwaway score on the board for her first wave. So Joanne takes priority. And that's a pretty decent advantage to have at the start of the heat when someone takes a ride early on and doesn't register a big number.
Just gift wraps priority to you, yeah, for sure. So advantage straight away to Joanne Defay. And again, she's used to winning. She's been having a great year, breakout year for her.
Well, we saw the matchups for these first 3 heats of round 2. We know Bianca Batendog and Alessa Quizon are going to fight it out in the second heat. Courtney Conlogue, Chelsea Tuach in heat number 3. But there is 3 more sensational heats that are going to play out in that second round. Sally Fitzgibbons up against the injury replacement, Pauline Adu, a former championship tour surfer. Lakey Peterson taking on Sage Erickson. Now those 2 Californians have been in fantastic form in the last few contests. A great fight there. And Malia Manuel, well, she found herself in one of the toughest heats of the first round. She surfed well, but ended up finishing up in 3rd position. She's up against Stephanie Gilmore in the last heat of round 2. So exciting thinking about those upcoming matchups. Exciting thinking about what we've got this afternoon with conditions looking to improve on the dropping tide.
And a cool thing with the tide dropping is there'll be smaller waves available. You know, when that tide was really big, that high tide, you needed to take off on big waves that were big, roly-poly. really soft. But now that it's way more shallow on that bank, you can take off on medium-sized wave, even smaller waves, and have that steep wall and connect with some solid maneuvers. So there'll be more options now that the tide's dropping.
Who do you like for the win here in France in the Roxy Pro, just based off what you've seen in the first round?
Well, so far, from what I've seen, Tatiana Westenweb has been the most impressive. Obviously, she's got that 10-point ride, but I just love how she's really, really aggressive and comfortable in hollow surf. So if the waves continue to be juicy and in that kind of heavier range, she's going to really be tough to beat.
Well, I personally think that Carissa Moore's performance was super composed. Just love that style. It just seems any time there is a bit of size in the ocean and there's a nice clean wall to lay into, she puts together the kind of turns that every surfer on the Women's Championship Tour is going to struggle to match. But here we go, some movement now. This is Silvana, beautiful clean float, throwing everything at it, but just not stomping the landing. And Ross, when we see a replay of that wave, you can tell us where you think it went wrong, but it was a brave attempt for someone that's had a lot of trouble with their knees.
Yeah, for sure. I like that she was being aggressive. She was trying to get down the line. This wave is really fast, so you can see her generating speed right up over the top there, and that was just a quick floater. And because she had all that weight forward, she went over the handlebars, but she kind of had to, Ronnie, because that wave was so fast. She wanted to continue down the line to get another 1 or 2 maneuvers, but she got a little too much weight on that front foot and went right over the handlebars.
There's some subtleties to Silvana's surfing that you sometimes miss until you see the slow motion like that. There's a lot of surfers that just aren't as refined as she is. I think Joanne's probably one of those surfers. Joanne's definitely aggressive. She goes for big turns, but Silvana, when she went up to the lip then, she went for that little rail grab. Just those subtle little things that they don't really add too much in the points department.
Yeah.
If Joanne did a floater and didn't grab the rail and it was a similar size, it'd probably be the same thing. But for me, it's just that little aesthetic, that little style thing that makes it more enjoyable to watch.
It's a great observation, and I totally agree with you. Not only that, it's not easy to do. Those subtle adjustments, that's all about her being aggressive.
Well, here we go. This is Joanne Defay now in front of her hometown crowd. She lays into a couple of monster turns. You can see the spray just flying towards the sky, and she's going to get a big finish here, and that is just a solid ride. Big moves in the critical part of the wave, and a huge score is going to come her way.
That was straight up Willy Wonka golden ticket zone right there. That was such a beautiful wave. 3 major maneuvers on. That was one of the better waves we've seen all afternoon. It really was. It was clean, it was big, it was steep. And guess what? She stayed committed. She didn't back down. She hit it pretty strong 3 different times. That's got to be a huge score. I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks into the 9 zone. That's 1 nice snap. That's kind of the setup turn. She gets better. 2 just reconnects. The 3rd one's the best one and snaps it right back. So, 3, and she finished the wave off too. Wow, actually that closeout re-entry to finish the wave was maybe her best one.
Well, this is the spark that she was missing in her heat against Tyler Wright, but I think she found it, Ross, on her last wave, or the wave that she rode in. She's about to put a huge number on the board.
It's going to be giant for sure. And this angle from the front view, I know it's backlit, but you can see right there, great connection. And I love how she didn't really bobble. She didn't dig any rails. She didn't bounce or weave around. It was just perfect energy displaced between each maneuver.
Well, the score has come through, a 9.67. And it is a deserving number. Joanne Defay really stepping things up here in the second round, understanding just how crucial it is to get through this round if she wants to maintain her spot at the top end of the ratings. And life is going to get difficult for Silvana Lima now because, well, the bar has been set, and it's been set really high.
That's brutal for Silvana Lima, and that's just a huge uppercut to the jaw for her right out of the gates too. I mean, it's not even it just got started. We got 21 minutes to left, and when you hear a 9.67 drop against you, that is a huge blow to your confidence.
Well, that was awesome. 9.67. I just love with the sun starting to dip towards the horizon now. It's a little backlit out there, and you could just see the volume of water that was coming off Joanne's rail as she laid into that first turn. And the second move, equally as strong. It was a good combination, a bit of variation, a mix-up in her approach to the pocket. She did well.
She had good, great bookend maneuvers, didn't she? That first opening turn was crisp. A couple of solid maneuvers in between, then she finished it really nice. But again, that wave was just an absolute golden ticket.
Conditions starting to improve. And big props to Jessie Miley Dyer. I was ready to pack up shop and get home and have a rest. We've been down here for a long time now. But she predicted that the conditions were going to turn, and it's looking better out there already.
Yeah, she knew that tide was dropping out, and that sandbar, you can see it's getting more and more defined. Now that there's not so much water on the bank, the waves are able to hug that line that sandbar has. The shape's gotten way better.
Silvana Lima. We know she's got those big scores in her, but it's going to be hard. She's just missed a bit of that power, a bit of that solid form that she had early on this season. Joanne Defay, on the other hand, she is heading towards an amazing sophomore finish. Rookie of the year last season. Finished inside the top 8. She got to 8th position by the year's end. But she did claim her first CT victory this season, and it's got her right up there at the top end of the ratings, just behind her best friend, Bianca Batender.
Yeah, and you're going to see, if we climb down the ratings there, Silvana Lima outside the top 10, and it's brutal. You know, to qualify, just to qualify, to keep your seed on the women's tour, you have to finish in the top 10.
Let's take a peek back at the Vans US Open. Joanne got that win. We'll just wait and see if this wave eventuates into anything. It's Silvana that's going to take off. She used priority for that one. She's going to kick out. 18 and a half minutes to go. And that's great news for Joanne Defay. Silvana didn't convert that priority into a score, so she's in a great position now. Let's look back on the Vans US Open and see what Joanne Defay got done to claim victory there.
Yeah, so challenging surf here on the south side of the pier, Huntington Beach. Classic event, Ronnie. This event has been around for a long, long time, but it's always tricky. Right in the middle of the summer at Huntington Beach, challenging surf. Girls like Sally, so tough to beat.
Yeah, it was interesting because Joanne, you know, she performs well on the beach breaks, obviously, but she's not the first person you think of when you think of small wave performance.
Yeah, she was just great rhythm, and she has added a lot of zip to her surfing. She's always been known to be a smooth operator, but she's added a little bit of flair to that, and that's a great recipe for her. And that was a big upset because Sally, that's such a recipe for her. She knows how to flow and fly across the water when it's small, so it was a bit of an upset.
And Sally's won that event before too. Just over 17 minutes to go. Joanne Defay off to a great start here in the first heat of round 2. You can see her stellar year there. An amazing run that she's been on. Her worst result came in the very first event, but she bounced back so well down at Bells Beach. A couple of nights. Her best result came in Fiji. Then she got the big win. But just continues to impress.
And I'm pretty impressed with that quarterfinal finish in Catch Cage, just up the coast there. You know, she could have just kind of flared out, got the win at the U.S. Open, and then sizzled back down in the bottom end of the ratings. But she's grinding out some solid results in between.
Well, she trains so hard too. The one thing that I love about Joanne's story is the fact that she's had that support from Jeremy Flores. She went a number of years unsponsored. She graduated to the elite ranks, and Jeremy and his father just reached out to Joanne via email and said, hey, we want to help you. We want to help your campaign as a championship tour surfer. Jeremy, growing up in Reunion Island, a really generous donation, gave us some money so that she didn't have to really be too concerned about that before she started collecting some prize money.
That's so cool. Major support there. That is a very unique story. I'm not sure that's been done before. Both of these surfers representing Reunion in France, they're both on tour, so that's great for Jeremy to hook it up for Joanne, give her that confidence too, not only for the financial but for the support.
Well, here we go. This is Silvana Lima trying to get a decent score on the board, and chase down Joanne Defay. A beautiful, stylish carve to get started. Again, puts her board on rail. Flashbacks to Silvana's victory down at Bells Beach with this ride. She brings it right through to the inside. Just gets knocked off on that floater to finish that wave off. Just under 15.5 minutes remaining.
And that sort of has been part of her program this year. Those are the hiccups that's been converting, unfortunately, for Savannah Lima, some losses. She's been falling quite a bit. And she is smaller in stature than your average girl on tour. And it's easy to kind of get flicked off your board by the whitewash. If there's power in the water, she can get pushed around more than your average competitor.
Well, 15 minutes to go, Joanne Defay, she's still hanging on to priority. She's out the back, waiting for an opportunity to back up her 9.67, her near perfect score she had early on. Bashed one of the best waves we've seen this afternoon and posted that huge number. Well, let's get a bit of an update from down on the beach with Strider Wozalewski. He's hanging in tight with some of those resilient fans.
That's right, down here on the beach. Just amazing day here. Almost 11 hours. These guys have been down here all day. It's so rare to have a beach full of people and the waves to hold this good for this long, this strong. And right now in the water, you know, we got one of France's finest, Joanne Defay, out there. We started off this morning with Jeremy Flores. I mean, the French fans are just unbelievable, and they're having a great time. They've got the full setup down here. They can go get themselves some food up with Christian at the snack up there. They've got the beach. They got perfect waves. It's been great weather, and the conditions absolutely holding in perfect. I mean, it's side offshore on the rights, offshore on the lefts. Joanne Defay out in front, just getting after it. I mean, she's having so much fun out here in front of a home crowd. It's so great to see her and her fans and the way they react to her. It's absolutely a pleasure, and I can't believe that we're getting the pleasure of this all day, and I can't wait for more. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be back on again.
Thank you, Strider. Yeah, the fans are definitely hanging in and getting right behind Joanne Defay. She's from Reunion Island, but she gets that European support, that French support. She's about to put a decent backup on the board.
I wanted to see if Strider could speak French. I wanted him to get a quick interview with one of our spectators. That's cool. You know, these fans are diehard. They have been down here in the dark this early this morning, way before the sun came up. Now that sun's starting to dip on the other side of the planet, and they're still here cruising on the beach.
Well, most of them only just woke up. They're going to be out all night, probably having breakfast. But here we go. This is Silvana's last ride. This is 6.83. It's put her back in the heat, Ross.
I like that opening cut back. Back up little cutty. And so now she needs to pin the lip with authority to really finish this wave off. But she gets bumped off right here by that backwash. So she was close to having a really big score. Just couldn't quite finish that wave. And now Joanne Defay looking for a solid backup score. She's got a monster of a score already. So she is in cruise control mode. 3.67 for this guy. So she's still going to be out there looking for a wave that, you know, maybe in that 6-7 range, and that'll really shut the door.
How hard is it just transitioning your wave selection from free surfs into competition? Because for me, I'm sure that would be my undoing, because in a free surf, I'm generally the person who picks up the scraps and takes just about any wave that comes my way. It seems like you just can't take average waves in CT competition. It really does cruel you if you do.
It's true. You know, you have to be selective, but at the same time, you can't be too patient. You have to really gauge how the heat's going. You know, and that's what makes the athletes on tour that win a lot of events. They can gauge the tempo of the heat. They can scale it up or scale it down. If your competitor that you're against is having a shocker, then you can chill. And so you really have to match the tempo of what's going on, what scores are being dropped.
So you'd be thinking from that last exchange too, or just that last wave from Joanne Defay, Silvana Lima's probably happy about it. She picked off a really average wave. It didn't have a lot of wall. She still grinded it out to the inside, so wasn't in a position to take priority. Left Silvana out there, and Silvana, she's been chipping away at that big lead. She got that 6.83. She's now got an opportunity to really make a strike and put an excellent score on the board.
Yeah, it's true. So, you know, the job is still there for Joanne Defay. So she can't get too complacent in this heat. She has to make sure that she realizes, hey, Silvana Lima is dangerous. You know, you never know. If she grabs a solid wall, she can bust a big air even and get a 9 of her own.
Do you think that it's an adjustment, wave selection's an adjustment that surfers even have to make from the QS to the CT?
For sure. I think once you get to the CT level, you have to be on pretty much premium waves. On a QS, it's a little more frantic. There's a lot more wave catching, smaller maneuvers. There's a lot more beach breaks on the schedule, whereas on the CT level, we're looking at the best time of the year for the premium locations.
Well, at this stage of the game, Silvana Lima, she finds herself in second spot. Joanne Defay, she dropped the hammer down early. She put a 9.67 on the board. She can increase her lead really easily. She's got a 3.67 as her second scoring right at the moment. She gets rid of that. And Silvana's requirement is going to grow. But at this stage of the game, just chasing a 6.52 to get into the lead with just under 10 minutes remaining. A crucial heat for Silvana.
Huge.
I would say if she doesn't progress through this heat, she'll basically probably have to win at Maui to stay on tour.
This is their second to the last event. And she is sitting well behind the cut line there. Again, it's top 10. You have to finish in the top 10 on tour just to keep your seat.
We always talk about it this time of year. It's so brutal trying to just break into the top 10 when you look at the names that are there. With so many good surfers sitting outside the qualification mark at this point in time. And I'll rattle off a few names. Coco Ho, Nikki Van Dyke, Silvana, Dimity Stoyle, Alessa Quizon, Laura Enever, Sage Eriksson. It's not easy getting into those qualifying positions. There's just under 9 minutes remaining. Silvana Lima in second spot, chasing a 6.52. Joanne Defay holding onto the lead on the strength of a 9.67. We'll be back right after this. A huge day of competition here on day 4 of the event window here at the Quiksilver and Roxy Pro France, and we're into the second round. Heat number 1 of the Roxy Pro. A big one. We're going to say goodbye to our first competitor from the draw. Will it be Silvana Lima or Joanne Defay? At this stage of the game, it could be either competitor. Just over 7 minutes remaining. Joanne, she has the single highest score of this heat so far at 9.67, but hasn't put a decent backup on the board just yet. She is heading for the ski at the moment, so she might have ridden a wave during the break. Let's see what unfolded on this wave. Will it go into a top 2, Ross?
Well, again, she doesn't have much for a backup score. It's just a 3.67. Let's see if this thing has an inside double up. Another patient cutback. You can see she is waiting for a nice, big, exciting section, and she gets hung up by that backwash. So leaving that door open.
I don't think that's going to better her position. She just couldn't find a steep piece of wall to tap into. She might just edge ahead of Silvana a little more. She gets a 4.23, so she does slightly improve her place in this heat. But Silvana, she's still in striking distance, needs a 7.08 with just on 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Silvana, she has priority, the Brazilian. She's a veteran with 9 years championship tour experience.
So that's, you know, you wish you could push a pause button for the tides. You know, there's a magic number there for, you know, where these sandbars really light up. Now that the tide's starting to drain out, you can see it's almost getting too shallow. There's more backwash in play.
Well, Joanne is willing to keep busy without priority. She has a look at that wave, a lot of foam on the face. Doesn't see anything better than a 4.23, so she kicks out. Some set waves approaching here, Silvana. Let's see if she strikes. She needs to get into the excellent range, Ross. A 7.08 is the requirement, but if she can go even higher, it'll put some pressure on Joanne going into the final stages.
Agreed. And, you know, in her mind, she's not really paying too much attention to that 7.08. She needs to try to somehow match that 9.67, as you mentioned, even an 8, just to put a little bit of pressure on Joanne.
5 minutes to go. A must-win heat for Silvana Lima. She doesn't want to be going into that last event with the pressure of having to win the contest or finish in the final to save her place on the championship tour for next season.
Yeah, she's a big chunk of points behind that top 10 mark. So really, even in this event, she'd like to make the semis for sure, just to give herself a chance come Maui.
I really don't want to see her fall off the CT ranks too. Not after what she's given us in 2015. Some of the standout moments. 2 10-point rides. Big air reverses. And actually her rail work on the Gold Coast was super sharp too.
Yeah.
She was almost like the female equivalent of Felipe in that very first event. Just super sharp, looking just a little faster than the rest of her rivals on the championship tour.
I agree. You know, it'd be a shame because she's exciting. You know, she's not one of those surfers that kind of plugs away at medium scores and tries to surf consistent and safe. She lives by the sword and dies by the sword. It's really fun to watch.
Well, there's just under 4 minutes remaining, and Silvana's trying to pick off a gem wave. In her mind, she wants to put an excellent score on the board. The requirement, a 7.08. All Joanne is thinking is, I have to improve on a 4.23. I have to push the requirement up for the Brazilian.
So Joanne maybe trying to sell that wave just a little bit to Silvana, but give her credit. She's being patient. She's waiting. She knows she needs an excellent score. Will it shape up for her, though? You know, that's the thing. That tide's dropping out. The waves are starting to close out more and more.
Time is ticking by. I'm starting to feel the stress of this heat for Silvana.
This looks like a good wave right here. You see the shoulder on it, a big A-frame to the right, and then that nice tapered line. Let's see if it holds up.
Well, it looks like she's going to let that one roll through.
Just out of position.
She's going to need a pretty steep wall. She's going to need something she can really lay into. Otherwise, she's in danger of getting herself another 6. The last wave actually had a little bit more scoring opportunity on the inside, but she tripped up. She hit a bump in her second last turn, and it threw her off for the big finish.
And the waves that she fell on in the first wave where she went over the handlebars, that had some potential too. That wall was not finished, so a couple of brutal mistakes that's really kept her in this position.
And that's the thing with really informed surfers. You love to look back on the year and celebrate those big moments that they have, but when you start really looking closely at their heats, you can start to see just a few little chinks and a couple of mistakes leading to those heartbreaking losses in the early rounds.
Yeah, it's true. You know, you just can't fall. You got to be consistent, and also at this level, you have to bring it. You have to, have some heavy maneuvers. So it's nothing but premium surfing at this level.
Well, this is Joanne Defay leading this heat, looking to improve her position. A great snap under the lip to get started. Attacks the lip once again. She's going to ride out of that move. She's looking to better a 4.23. And with the combination of 2 major turns there, I think she might have done it. So that's the bonus of scoring a 9.67 early. Because for Silvana Lima, if she had gotten that wave, there was a chance that she probably might have fallen short of the requirement. And if she did, the door still would have been left open for Joanne Defay. So she was looking for something better. Joanne, she only looks to improve on a 4.23. And she's definitely done that with that ride.
Oh, she can pour a glass of wine at this point. That was awesome surfing. That second maneuver was right on the money. So this is going to be beyond a backup score. It's going to be premium. I think it's going to be an excellent score.
She bashed that thing. I think she knew that she had limited opportunity to get a couple of big turns done. So when she dropped to the bottom, Ross, she made sure she put all her power and technique into those two maneuvers.
That was sweet. You know, great approach, perfect technique. She got nice and vertical, and then she had that tight arc through a lot of spray.
Well, Silvana might need one of her perfect rides here. Here she goes, using priority. Just 10 seconds remaining. She's going to need a huge number. An awkward first turn. A lot of bumps on the wave here she's got to deal with. And she's basically waving the white flag. The surfer in blue, Silvana Lima from Brazil. She is going to fall out of the draw here. A devastating second round loss. And it really could mean the end of her championship tour run for 2016. It's going to be hard to requalify.
Well, I'm with you, Ronnie. I'm also a huge fan of Silvana, so yeah, I really hope that she gets that massive result she might need in Maui to stay on tour. She's too good, too exciting. But a really awesome performance there from Joanne Defay. Home game for her. She threw up a couple of huge numbers there. She's going to enjoy her dinner tonight.
She sure is. An 8.5 on her last wave, a 9.67 on her first. Silvana Lima, in the end, was comboed. She's out of the contest. Big heat coming up next, Bianca Baitendar and Alessa Quizon. But we're starting to look forward to the last heat of the day. The current Jeep ratings leader, Conlogue, taking on the wild card, Chelsea Tuach. Stay with us. You're watching the Roxy Pro, Joe Chappelle and Rosie Hodge in next.
Good evening. You're watching the Roxy Pro, the 9th stop of the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. It is right on 6:30 in the evening. Believe it or not, we got down here at 6:30 in the morning. Started with a Quicksilver Pro, finished round 2, got into opening round of the Roxy Pro, and the conditions were so fun. Jesse Miley Dyer, former competitor, now deputy commissioner, decided to keep it rolling, and now we're into heat number 2. An all goofy foot matchup, Alessa Quizon from Hawaii, Bianca Baitendar from South Africa, and having a South African in the water, bringing one in the booth, Rosie Hodge, joining myself, Joe Chappelle, for the call. Rosie, a stretched out day, but it's kind of a tradition in France, maxing out sunrise to sunset.
I like it, Joe. I mean, let's make hay while the sun shines. You know, Tyler Wright mentioned it in a heat prior, that there's waves on offer. The girls are ripping. Why not carry on? Jessie Miley-Dyer, our WSL Deputy Commissioner, making a great call, and the girls are stoked to be surfing into the late afternoon here in France.
While we were at the break, we did get things started with the South African Bianca Buitendag.
Here we go, Bianca Buitendag, you know, just trying to get it, opening up this exchange, and unfortunately going down on that one. You can tell, you know, maybe the girls a little bit caught unawares that they were going to surf this round 2, but that's what you got to do when you're at this World Championship level, is you've just got to adjust and keep on your toes and know that you're going to be potentially surfing in this round 2.
Quick decision, had to make a quick reseed. Buitendag and Alessa Quizon fell victim to the devastating form of Tatiana getting that 10-point ride. Bianca had a couple of looks in that heat. Alessa had one wave. Quick, easy game plan changes to get a little bit more active. Can that be a little bit easier to say and harder to do at times?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so easy to watch from the beach and kind of say, hey, you should have been sitting there, you could have been on this peak, you could have had this opportunity. But I think for Alessa, she's in this moment, she's in the water, she's the one surfing the heat, so it's really the ball's in her court to make those decisions.
Little opportunities out the back. Beautiful evening light, and setting up the backhand again from South Africa, Bianca Buitendag fights her way through that first section. Gets out in front, now chases the pocket down. Just a 1.67 opener. Just filling in the gaps. A couple of backside carves, and it's a little hiccup on the inside corner. 2 quick waves for the South African as Quizon waits out the back, holding that priority. Loving those backside hooks. We keep mentioning representing South Africa, but Rosie, Bianca spent a lot of time out here in Europe for many years.
Oh, exactly. I think she feels so comfortable here on the French beach break. She spent a lot of her junior career going back and forth between South Africa and France during the school holidays. So she's well adapted to surfing in these conditions, and you can just see, you know, the tourists go on tour. This wave is still overhead for her, so there's still definitely potential to get big scores. There's a lot of quiet space on this wave where she's just kind of weaving her way through, trying to find a bit more of a critical section. You can see that wave's getting a little bit fat on through to the inside, so Bianca just trying to milk it and get the most of it, comes undone, goes down on that one.
Now the Hawaiian looking to answer back, Quizon. Quick backside rip in the pocket. She'll fade to find the power source. Open face, backhand jam. Now set up work to find the pocket again. Quizon looking to find some rhythm on the inside corner. When the wave gets a little challenging with backwash, she'll fight through. Another backside top turn, looking for one more, and jams it nice and tight and hops out of there. Solid read for the Hawaiian from start to finish.
Yeah, definitely. You can see she's got a lot of aggression in her surfing now. She probably had a bit of a wake-up call in that round 1 when she, you know, didn't post too many massive scores. So I think she's kind of reset herself and got ready for this round 2 matchup. We've actually seen her do quite well in the last 2 events at Lower Trestles and at Cascais Women's Pro. So I think Alessa finding that winning formula and getting that taste of what it takes to take out heat wins.
Quizon from a very special place in Hawaii, the west side of Oahu. Rosie, you have a lot of friends around the world, but you definitely hang out with some West Siders from time to time. How fun is it to hang out with that crew?
Oh man, I think beach days on Makaha, it's so special, and she'd be so used to backwash. I mean, Makaha is so famous for that inside backwash, so she'd be able to kind of bop and weave around this wave like no other person on tour. And I also think it's quite interesting to see the equipment choice from Les Quizon riding Xanadu surfboards, and you can see how nicely that board is fitting in the pocket. I like the way that she repositions herself in the whitewater to give her, you know, more opportunity to stay critical. You see her kind of weaving this one through a lot like Bianca, that quiet space, waiting for something to eventuate.
You can see that downtime in between turns. How'd you like these last couple of maneuvers?
Yeah, I think, you know, she had that downtime and then she really kind of made the most of it, especially that last turn. That's going to stick out in the judge's mind, and then, you know, kicking out of that one. So you kind of look at those points of reference where she threw spray and she threw her tail out, and you kind of compare that to Bianca's wave, and she might get the better of the exchange.
Rosie, you competed at this high level for multiple seasons, and at times you had to think about rankings and how you're sitting for the following year. Talking to Quizon just the other day, she said, well, I'm in an interesting spot. I'm kind of safe. Well, actually, I'm not. Well, I'm safe-ish. And she kept taking it back. Sometimes it feels that way for everyone following along. She's equal 6th on the QS. You know, she has all these scenarios that could unfold, and at the end of the conversation, she just knows she needs to perform How much time does she need to spend on really understanding the math to qualify for next year?
It's so funny. I mean, I think you don't really want to say it out loud and so that it doesn't come true. I think she's in that position. You mentioned 6 on the rankings, and that's kind of, on the cusp, really. You want to be in the top 6 if you're going to re-qualify through the QS onto the World Championship Tour and in the top 10. But for Alessa, there's a couple ladies ahead of her that are double qualifying, and then her spot, you'd have to say that she's safe. But in her mind, she doesn't want to say it because she doesn't want it to come true.
Well, you think about a top 17 scenario. Have you ever thought about thinking of a bigger tour for the women, or do you kind of like this formula?
Wow, you look at the level of women surfing at the moment, and there's so many people that could be thrown in this mix and really compete with the world's best. But it's so fun to have these top 17 be condensed into, every single heat that you look at, wow, that's a power matchup. So it's fun to see these top 17 battling it out.
Big clashes out of the gates as we think about the qualification scenarios. Remember, top 6 on the QS. Even though Alessa's 6, she's tied with Malia Manuel. On the countback from the previous season's rankings, Malia will take that 6th spot if she needs it. Since Manuel is a double qualifier, that would automatically go to Alessa to put her in requalification. Good thing is she doesn't even need to worry about that because Van Dijk's a double qualifier. Tatiana Weston-Webb is a double qualifier. If all this stays the same, that could even go down to Laura Ennever, bringing her back on the top 17. You can see there's one event left in Chile. It's a QS 3000, a little bit less, 1500, so it's a little bit smaller than some of the majors like the 6000s that have a lot of points on the line. So we'll see if anything changes towards the tail end. Laura did have to bow out of this one, so hopefully if she's ready to compete come Chile time, she could take a win. Then what if she was tied with all of them for equal 6 at the end of the year? Our commissioner would have a lot of work to do.
There's so much to think about, and then you factor in the top 10 with the top 6 of the QS and then the injury wild card. Looking at Stephanie Gilmore, I mean, she had to bow out of quite a number of events and is just outside the top 10 and 11th spot, so she could potentially take that injury wild card. And now with Laura Ennever having to back out of this event with a shoulder injury, that throws another kind of spanner in the works.
Sure does. 20 minutes on the clock, a few waves ridden. Bianca with 2 rides, 167 3.0. The best number for Alessa Quizon, a 4.17 on her start. Just needs a 0.5 to take the lead off Bianca Baetendog. You can see these waves when they come in. They look brilliant, almost stretch out to look like a right-hand point break. Really full out the back. What's the secret to really perform when the face is so stretched out like it is?
Well, I think just making the most of the opportunities. I think when you have that long bit of wall, you've got every opportunity to kind of link your turns together, but then also at the same time it can show the judges some of your weaknesses in your surfing. So you really want to be getting your maneuvers tight in the pocket and using that critical section and really, making it count when the opportunity presents itself. I think the girls that are laying it on the line, they're getting the big scores. If you're kind of hesitating on your turns, the judges don't like to see that.
Well, we know South Africa's got such an amazing surf scene. We love stopping there for QSs, for major CT events. How does it work in surfing circles when a grommet starts stepping up? How early did you really hear this name, Bianca Baetendog, and when did she really start showing that she'd be on the World Tour someday?
I think for Bianca, I've known her since she was tiny, and she was a lot shorter than she is now. But then it's so funny because you just knew as a tiny grommet that she had so much potential. But then it was kind of, she took it in her own hands to kind of make that next step, like you mentioned, when she was younger, spending a lot of time in France, putting herself out there and really gaining that experience in Australia Junior Contest, European Junior Contest, and then taking that experience onto the qualifying series, and that's how she finds herself, on the top 5 in the Women's World Tour.
Really exciting to see what Bianca did back at the Fiji Pro, making the final, finishing runner-up to Sally Fitzgibbons, really showing her ability to charge really heavy waves. Coming from Victoria Bay, we always like to think about waves she might have in her backyard. And right now, I'll give you the go-ahead, Rosie, to reveal some secret spots where she warmed up for really hollow left-handers.
Oh, for the left-handers, I was really, I think she's actually spent a bit of time going to Fiji, back and forth. We had a couple of Roxy trips in the islands, so she kind of cut her teeth on those trips, and then also, going to Tahiti in her break with Joanne Defay. She's not afraid to kind of venture out and put herself out there and really work on her weaknesses, or something that we don't really get in South Africa. I mean, barreling lefts. There's a couple waves in Namibia that you see all the time, and I don't know if Bianca spent much time there, but she definitely puts herself out there and goes on trips and goes for those new experiences.
Definitely can find waves by herself up and down the coast of South Africa. So many waves on offer. Bianca spends so much time on the road, loves exploring, traveling with her boyfriend. Right now, she just has a 3 and a 1.67. The fun part about this matchup is Alessa Quizon mentioning she's kind of found something, a return to form. She mentioned how she kind of found her flow again in the event at Cascais. You were down there witnessing that. What did you see in reacting to her flow coming back?
Well, I just like the way that Alessia, sometimes you'll speak to her and she'll be like, I got so nervous. And I'm like, wow, are you getting nervous? You're so talented. If you put that aside, if you let that pressure kind of fall off your shoulders, that'll free you up to just perform. And I feel like, she sees herself in a sort of qualifying position on the QS, so that frees her up on the CT. But then also getting those wins in the round number 1 and advancing straight to round 3. And also in round 3, she did the same thing.
Little backside hook on the back end of Bianca Baetendauer. Another beautiful fan setting up in that sunset that's about to go down. Hits it off the lip one more time. And Bianca turns in her best series of turns in this matchup so far. Already had the lead, but the 1.67 is going to be long gone. Great to see a similar attack. Goofy versus Goofy foot. You can see the range Bianca has. Bit taller, board's a bit bigger. Alessa Quizon kind of has that free-flowing, high-performance maneuvers down as well. And when you counter that with Bianca's focus on putting more fin drifts involved, we saw her introduce some of those more radical turns at the last event back in Southern California.
Yeah, I think, Bianca's really been working on putting that little bit of flair into her surfing and putting that variety into maneuvers, and you can just see it. She's really putting the back foot on the tail and able to throw that board around. I mean, she does ride bigger boards, but she just rides them with so much power. And you can see there's no kind of steps in between. It's all fluid surfing from Bianca. So really nice way of linking those moves together. It's really pleasing on the eye.
So big answer back for Bianca Baetendauer. Quizon, remember, had the 4.17. Now Bianca turning in her best wave. That's about to average out. Now hitting the 15-minute mark. As we know, coming up next, it's a huge matchup before we close out the day. Courtney Conlogue versus Chelsea Tuach. We have Pete Mel on hand, anticipating fireworks in this next heat. Pete, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, this is a big one. World title implications on the line here for Courtney Conlogue, and heroics could be happening for Chelsea Tuach. I just had to come down the beach here about 300 yards. It is very glary looking out into the sun, and it can be hard to read. She's moved down the beach herself. It's just because I think that she can get a much better view, get a little headspace, has mom by her side, and just getting warmed up, looking over, getting up a higher advantage, and looking down on the break so she can actually read what's happening out here, because it is challenging to see from back at the comp site. So she's moved up here, getting her warm up on. Chelsea's done the same thing down the beach as well. It's a big heat. It's something that she cannot lose in this round if she wants a world title.
Well, Pete, we had a little bit of a break before we got round 2 underway. Can Courtney and Chelsea plan on the same types of conditions they had in their opening round heat?
No. It's going to be totally different. I mean, that's how every heat is here. It's when the tide's swinging as much as it does, we've got it going the other direction now. It's a lower tide. It's actually probably a little bit more challenging. There's not as high quality of waves. The lefts might come into play a little bit because it's going to be a little bit steeper, because the rights are so shallow now that it's actually so low tide that it's pulling off the bank, and they're kind of mushy. So there looks like to me, just by looking at it now, because I got a little better vantage point sitting here, is that the deeper rights, the ones that are deeper and a little bit smaller, are going to be steeper on the face. And then there's those occasional lefts that stay on that shallow sandbar. We saw Joanne Defay get her wave that at the end of the heat. That was a left. I think those are going to come into play at this last heat of the day.
Well, Pete, when we were on the desk, you were saying Courtney Conlogue heavily favored in this matchup as she's sitting on the beach. We'll get back to Pete in a moment as we have live action out the back here in heat number 2. Alessa Quizon jamming it beautifully on the back end, winding up off the bottom. Big fan out the back as she's running after the inside corner. She'll step off. Nice little cannonball exit. We'll catch up with Pete Mel later on through the day as we have one more heat to follow. Bianca dropped to 7-1-7, so this was an important wave for Quizon here, Rosie.
Yeah, you see her negotiating that bit of bump in the face, but then it really gets to work. We talk about that aggression from Alessa Quizon, the way she squares up her shoulders, just gets her set up to go pretty much 12 o'clock on that wave, and, you know, that cannonball was pretty impressive too, so you can tell that she's having fun in the lineup.
All about the dismount. She got out of there, turned in a 4.0. 4.17 before that, so Quizon still second, needs a 6.01 to take the lead off Bianca. 7.17 was a big difference in the scoreline from Quizon. What did you see Bianca doing that really earned her that big number?
I feel like the only thing that Alessa potentially could have done differently on that wave was that bobble kind of hit her and threw her timing off on where she could have hit it on that first turn. But I mean, you look at Bianca, she did 3 turns that were pretty fluid and well put together. But other than that, I mean, Alessa surfed that wave extremely well. I felt like maybe a touch underscored.
There we go. I like that, putting it out there. 12 minutes remaining. Last heat was won by a local, Joanne Defay, 18.17 total. Joanne's with Strider Wasilewski.
Thanks a lot, guys. Definitely down here with the winner of that heat, the pride and joy of France right now. Nice heat for you out there.
Yeah, it was pretty tricky, and I wasn't expecting to surf the round 2 because I was supposed to win my round 1. No, I really tried to do something in round 1, but it was pretty hard, and Tyler had the good rhythm. And so at the same time it was surprising, but at the same time I had I knew how was the spot like straight away because I was going straight back in the water. So I just tried to get the first good one, and actually I had a 9 point, so it's make me comfortable, and I was hoping for a better wave, like faster, but so I was kind of stressing because Silvana just needed a 6, so it's like she can do it so easy. So yeah, I'm just very happy now.
You know, coming into the afternoon, you thought the event was going to be off for the day. You were surprised you actually had to get back out there.
Yeah, obviously, and I wasn't expecting also to serve the round 1 because yesterday in the afternoon they were like, yeah, no girls, so I was like, oh, maybe it's going to do the same today. So, but yeah, I'm very happy that Jessie had this call because the wave were pretty good and like very good. There is some bumps, and so I'm happy to made it all, and maybe see you tomorrow.
Well, would you like to, if you could, say some words in French to all your fans out there?
Yes, I can. Je voudrais remercier tout le monde qui est venu sur la plage aujourd'hui. On a eu beaucoup de monde, que ce soit pour les garçons ou pour les filles. Donc je remercie tout le monde, c'était génial, tout le monde qui m'a applaudi pour mon round 1 ou mon round 2, et bravo aux autres Français aujourd'hui. Et voilà, demain pour plus de séries et plus de surf, quoi. Merci.
Ok, merci. À tout à l'heure.
Wow, great accent, Strider. Beautiful language. Love hearing Joanne Defay speak French. Makes me want to sign up for classes.
I didn't know they were meeting up later.
Yeah, that was incredible. What a performance from Joanne Defay, looking so comfortable in the top 17 and taking down one of the big names of the sport. That puts a lot of pressure on Silvana Lima coming into the final event of the season in Maui as we go into a straight-up vertical attack from Alessa Quizon. Off the lip and an open-face jam. Now searching for the pocket. Running through the inside corner. Great timing to slap it again. Speed turn. Covering some ground as she looks for a big finishing move. She'll jam it all the way.
Wow.
Around back into the pocket. She's feeling the heat now. Last wave of 5.33 that she rode during that interview with Defay. Just needed a 4.85 to take the lead.
Well, I kind of feel like I mentioned, I felt kind of like she got undercooked on her scores, and then she needed that 4.85, so I think she took off with a lot of aggression, a lot of pent-up rage maybe on that last wave. She really went to town. I want to see that first maneuver again because that really got my attention, and I'm wondering if the judges felt the same.
You see that power, aggression, and control from Alessa Quizon. We'll rewind it for you, Rosie. Here it is.
Well, you see the way that she's eyeing off that section. I've mentioned the way she squares up her shoulders, and she just gets to work on that one, throwing that board up, getting critical, and really, you know, adding a little bit of variety. We mentioned that aggression. She even hits it off the top with a lot of, you know, kind of flex in her surfing.
You can see that just speed and control, even through the flats. then sets up another big bottom turn. That was the finishing move for Quizon. You talk about variety of maneuvers, especially when you feel you could be limited on your back end, and Quizon was able to perform snaps off the lip into carves, and the judges love to see that.
Yeah, I like the way she mixed it up on that wave, starting from that first turn that really, kind of gave her that variety that she was looking for. You see a lot of spray, and then maybe just getting a little bit hit by the backwash on that first turn, but she negotiates this so well. And then really brings it on through to the inside and lines up this last turn that I really enjoy seeing from Alessa Quizon. I think that was her previous wave. They're comparing the waves. That was actually her 4.0. I mean her 5.33.
And this is the final wave that we just saw ridden. That first turn was your favorite. What about the rest of it?
Well, like I mentioned, I think that first turn really got my attention, and then it's the way that she finishes off this wave. There's that kind of flatness to this wave that she really negotiates quite well, but then she lines up this section and throws the tail light, and I love to see that control that she has too. There wasn't any kind of doubt that she wasn't going to make that turn.
So Quizon fighting back. She wants to feel a little bit better about finishing off another great year on the championship tour. The decision made from the panel, 5.47. It is enough to take the lead off of Bianca Buitendog. 6:30 remaining now. Remember, the South African has a 7.17. Now needs a 3.63 to answer back. One judge went high as a 6.0, but all of them with a complete decision to turn this heat with that way.
Yeah, well, that really puts the ball in Bianca's court. I think she'll be sitting out the back. She has priority, and, it's up to her to kind of pick off a wave that's... I don't think she's going to be hunting for that 3.63. I think she's going to be hunting for something a bit more substantial.
So now 6 minutes until we see the heat with our Jeep leader, Courtney Conlogue, taking on the wild card of Chelsea Tuach. That'll be the final heat of the day. Coming up next at the Roxy Pro, we'll be right back for more action right after this.
Maintenant, Bianca qui est à l'eau, c'est que 3,63 lui suffisent pour prendre la tête.
Get ready for a beautiful sunset here in the southwest of France. There's amazing food where this town is going to be absolutely popping tonight. Watching people on the dance floor. It's Friday night after all.
It is.
Especially with all the numbers of people we had down here on the beach from sunrise, and now there's still a few remaining. It was a little surprise call for a lot of the fans as well. They saw a hold in the action. Some people packed up and tried to turn around because they realized there's a few more heats to go. Right into a left-hand hook for Bianca Buitendog. She's trying to fight back for the lead and jams it on the inside. It was a crucial section. She needed to pull off that finish. She had a big hook to start, only chasing a 3.63. 4 minutes to go, Rosie. What do you think?
That was a smooth first turn from Bianca, and then obviously I wish she had held on to that last turn, getting just bonked off by the whitewater. She'll just get on the ski, reset, and get back to the outside.
Well, an interesting situation. Picking off a great set wave, having a lot of speed and going into one big hook. Three Ranger isn't a whole lot to come by. Are you giving her the score here, Rosie?
Well, let's have a close look at this one. A deep bottom turn and a nice carving maneuver. You just look at the second turn, you feel like she really threw everything at that and then getting gobbled up by the foam ball. So it's going to be a pretty close one for the judges. You look at her scoreline, a 3.0 and a 7.17. Requiring that's 3.63. I mean, that first turn was really nice on a decent sized wave.
You see that hook and commitment to start. Judges want another look. You're thinking she nails this final turn. Easy decision. Turns the heat. But the first move was in the pocket, right on the money. It'll be interesting to see how close it comes. If not definitely turning the heat, you could see where they'd be thinking the commitment was there. Had the wave and the momentum. With now 2:50 to go, that makes this a little bit more exciting. A lot more on the line for Quizon in this matchup since she's sitting on the back of the rankings. Wants to kind of remember what it feels like to be in big quarterfinal heats. We saw her do that as a wild card back in Rio, made the semifinals before she was on tour. I think that feeling when she had no pressure really suited her quite well.
Definitely. I mean, I think Alessa's really starting to find her form, and then Bianca, she's already made 3 finals this year, so she's used to being in positions of power and able to dominate heats.
Well, the panel not turning the heat on that front side hook from Bianca, falling on the finish, a 3.03. She needed a 3.63. 2:10 remaining. How do you like that decision?
I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, falling on that last turn really was what gave the judges kind of a unanimous call that it wasn't the score. But I think had she pulled that, she would have definitely solidified a lead in this with under 2 minutes remaining and would have put her in a great position to advance.
So a huge roll now, 1:50. Quizon with priority, and she's trying to close this one out. It's really been an afternoon of the surfers on the back end of the rankings, kind of led by that roll and radical approach from Dimity Stoyle, sending some top seeds into the second round. Coco Ho outside the top 10 picture, sending Courtney Conlogue into the situation into round 2. When this happens on tour, is it due to conditions or is it just the underdogs rising to the occasion?
I think everyone on the tour at the moment is so capable, and I just think it's, give them that opportunity, get them on the right equipment, put them in good conditions, and they're going to step up and perform. And I think for Coco, she kind of found that rhythm, she found that form. You look at Dimity, she's really started to get on a roll, so everyone is dangerous in the draw at the moment.
1 minute remaining, pressure on Batendog to avoid a second round loss after such an amazing year this year. Finaling in Rio, runner-up to Courtney Conlogue. Proved herself in a challenging beach break, now one that she's much more familiar with. It seems to be avoiding her at the moment. She has the high single score of this matchup. 40 seconds to turn in a 3.63. And now Quizon just hoping that the ocean will go flat. She's in a good situation to get priority. Would you want Bianca to make a move outside of Alessa's reign right here? She's sitting right next to her. Is there anything she can do?
Yeah, I think for Bianca at the moment, she should maybe be hunting something on the inside. I mean, when there's so little time, you've really got to kind of get to work and try and find something away from your other competitors, especially when they have priority.
As we're looking at the countdown, we see stacks to the horizon, but will it make it in time? They're already closing out this matchup, and looks like it's not going to come in time for Bianca Batendog. Alessa Quizon from Hawaii is able to survive a very close matchup. She stayed very active, started with 4s, noticing a little more aggression, turned in a couple of 5s, a 10.8 total to move on to round 3 as the upsets continue here at the Roxy Pro. Coming up next, Courtney Conlogue taking on Chelsea Tuach. That'll wrap up the day. Welcome back to the last heat of the evening here on a Friday in Hossegor, the southwest of France. The Roxy Pro, stop number 9 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. We're going to see that friendly face on tour full-time next year of Chelsea Tuach representing Barbados for the first time ever on the top 17. Easy call to give her the call up to surf in this major event. And now, like wildcards do, they're tested against the surfers that are in the best form in the whole world. Courtney Conlogue feeling what it's like to be world number 1 for the first time in her career. She's always had that goal in mind of going for a world title, but this is the first year that really became achievable. Jill Trappell alongside former CT Ripper, Rosie Hodge. Chelsea Tuach now is going to get this matchup started. Frontside whip, and she's out. That hands priority to Conlogue, and she's not going to waste any time. Sticking to the lefts here. Jams it under the lip. Good for one move out the back. And now she'll get ready for the next exchange to go down. Tuach quickly with a 1.6 advantage. Conlogue on that opening exchange, Rosie.
Yeah, you just watch Chelsea Tuach here really having to cover some distance to get around this white water. And just going to the rail on that turn, unfortunately that wave just dissipating for her. So just one tiny move on that wave. And then Courtney Conlogue out the back. She loves to go to her backhand. She's got big maneuvers. Unfortunately gets a little bit hung up on the lip, but on a bigger wave, a kind of bigger turn. So I'd have to agree with you. Maybe got the better of that exchange.
So now 1.6 for Chelsea, 3.67 for Conlogue. We know Courtney is so dangerous in every type of surf. Last year she made the final out here in France. It was really a comeback event for her after such a lengthy injury. It was hard for her to sit on the sidelines for the majority of the year. Who would have thought 1 year later she'd be wearing yellow coming down into the final couple events of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was so hard to watch, Courtney last year have to sit on the benches from bells onwards until, trestles. And I think for her it was even like a really hard thing for her to do just because she was in such devastating form last year. But now coming into 2015, she seems to, really have learned a lot from that injury and brought that into the season. And she's in striking distance of a world title. She could even potentially take it out here.
That is the craziest part of the whole thing. If Carissa Moore would get a 9th or worse, that's not making the quarterfinals, and Courtney would then go on to win the thing, she could clinch one for USA, which hasn't happened for a long time. Hawaii's a separate region. Carissa Moore's gotten a couple there. Gilmore with 6 titles. There's Lane Beachley area with 7. Sofia Milanovic, Chelsea Hedges got in the mix for a little bit there, but you're going back to Lisa Anderson, 4-time champ, when you really saw some USA domination.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, Lisa Anderson got those 4 world titles for the USA. I mean, Courtney Conlogue growing up in Huntington, Lisa would have been a huge inspiration to her. So I think Courtney, she's really set her goals as a young Grom. She's always had her eye on a world title. I mean, and you look at the fierce rivalries that she's had along the way. Lakey Peterson, Carissa Moore, she would have grown up in that same class and competed with these girls since she was just a little baby girl.
What a huge opportunity. Lisa from Florida, you go back to California titles, maybe Kim Merrick back in the day from just a bit further up north in California. Now let's hear from the last heat winner, Alessa Quizon, is with Peter Mill.
Yeah, Alessa, the totally different conditions that we saw earlier in round 1. How did you reassess and end up coming out with the win?
It was so tricky out there. My first heat of round 1 I had a shocker. I think I stood up and fell, so it's probably a 0.8 something, I don't know, around there. And going into this heat, I was just like, oh, it's so different. And I just wanted to stand up and, just get a good wave. Like, all the girls are getting 9s and 8s, and I just wanted to get one of those out there. But it's so tricky, especially on your backhand. And, I was just so nervous at the end. She only needed like a 3. And I've been in those positions where you have like a high score and you just need something so little. And I was just hoping that I'd be the one where it's like, okay, no waves come. Just, I was praying that, I'd get lucky. And, I'm just super happy that I caught those waves. And I just try to stay busy.
And I got to ask you, it looked like you were having a little decompression after your first round heat with Kaio, and you guys were having a talk about it. What was said between between these round 1 heats?
It's so funny. He was telling me, stop doubting in yourself. Like, you have the talent, and I know that you haven't been showcasing it, but you belong here. And I was just like trying to, let that sink in. I was like, okay, yes, he's right. I do got this. I can do it. So yeah, he definitely helped out a little bit. At the time, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go out there. But you know, like, yeah, at the end, you got to believe in yourself for things to happen.
Well, I would be believing in Nakayo as well as we see this water come up here. Yeah, good job, well done by Alessa. She's in round 3.
Thanks, Pete Mel. Quizon survives round 2. Tries to get a little bit closer to requalification on the CT side. Remember, equals 6th on the QS level. So she's got a couple little routes that she could take through the back end of the year. You saw her just wanting to go to town. She watched her peers throw down big numbers, and she was inspired by that, but maybe almost a bit frustrated. She was in the mid-range. We'll check out a quick up and out from Tuach. During that interview, Courtney Conlogue went to town on a right-hander and showed a lot of variety through the inside corner.
Yeah, that's exactly the approach that Courtney has. You know, time after time you watch in these heats, she's just so strong and so powerful. You know, she's wearing that yellow Jeep Leaders jersey for a reason. Courtney has just taken absolute commanding control of the 2015 season, along with, I mean, the people that are in the hunt like Carissa Moore, but she's really wearing that jersey so well.
Well, Rosie, you were alongside Courtney for those key moments this year when she took wins. But before we get there, what do you think about this effort?
I love this wave that Courtney was able to pick out. It really started to kind of stand up for her, so you could see a lot more variety in her surfing. She does that little bit of a tail stall to get ready for that maneuver where she throws the tail out and then comes around for that one. So a couple great moves in the pocket and then finishes out with that kind of layback maneuver. So there was variety in that and a lot of power and water display. So I'm going to be interested to see what the judges throw for that score.
What a fun right-hander here to beach break. So many opportunities. You have different beach breaks on tour compared to where we just were in Cascais, at certain venues at Carcavelos, then back where we were at Baja da Tijuca and Rio, where Courtney won. You kind of realize what Courtney was doing at Baja da Tijuca. She can't just completely translate to the beach breaks here in Hossegor.
Exactly. I mean, Courtney, you mentioned her making the final here last year against Tuach. She just loves France. She loves Europe. She just came off a win in Cascais. She'd be carrying that momentum through into these beach break situations. And, you know, she's also known for a big wave game. So Courtney really has a very diverse bag of tricks.
Interesting when you talk to Courtney in between events. It's not like she's just cruising behind the scenes. So she's been doing some big wave training with guys like Greg Long, talking about just expanding the lung capacity. She's spent a lot of time on the North Shore. She's got big boards. She'll be charging at Sunset Beach, and she doesn't have to do that. She's got the love for surfing waves 1 feet to 20 feet any chance she gets.
Exactly. I mean, she was just in Bordeaux surfing a tidal wave that popped up because of the supermoon. So she's chasing waves all over the place, and she's chatting to her mom. She got one of the only 2 waves that broke during that little special event in Bordeaux. So Courtney, she just loves to surf and experience different things. They did the drive from Cascais, Portugal, all the way up here to France. So she's really, you know, just immersing herself in the experience of being on tour and going to these different locations.
That is so cool. What a great combination. Courtney and her mom, Tracy. They've been the duo on tour for many years, navigating through all the new venues that they've never been to before. Now she kind of finds some familiarity all over the world. She's so accustomed to traveling. Even after the event ended in her home court, the U.S. Open, she got on the flight, went to South Africa. She's always fitting in trips, and you think she'd tire out, but she actually gets more energy off of it.
Oh man, it was so fun. She said she had 10 days to go to South Africa. Myself and Bianca went to work and drew a map and kind of put like little destinations that she had to go on a napkin during Joanne Defay's party after she won the US Open, and Courtney ended up going to all those spots. And like you mentioned, she gets more energy after doing those trips and after having those experiences.
What a legend. Right now, world number 1, wearing the Jeep leader jersey, taking on Chelsea Tuach, representing Barbados. Tuach just a 1.6 and a .57. Got to see her at the U.S. Open as we found Courtney's mom. Usually has a huge camera in front of her. Gets the footage. Leading up into the Swatch Women's Pro at Lowers, we ran into Courtney's mom, and she spent about 8 hours on the beach. She reminded Courtney that she had no food, no water, but she didn't miss a clip.
No.
So she had all of her waves.
Tracy is just, I mean, the biggest supporter, and you know, carrying the surfboards down, doing the run up to the car after the surf session at Lower Trestle. So, you know, it's so great to have that in your corner.
Now Tuach winds up a little backhand attack. She'll go down. That her 3rd wave ridden so far. Courtney with a 3.67 and a 6.83. 18.30 remaining in this one. made it a little bit exciting seeing Courtney just drift into round 2 because there is this heavy world title on the line, and the yellow jersey has traded hands a couple of times this season against Carissa Moore. It's not a runaway story, which we have had on the women's tour. Rosie qualified back with Stephanie Gilmore back in those days. Gilmore would take off in events, and she was always the clear favorite and would basically run away world titles. Much different scene. What year did you really see that transition with multiple contenders going for the big cup?
I think, as soon as I got to 2009, 2010, you had Sally Fitzgibbons come onto tour, Coco Ho, and then, you had Carissa Moore in 2010 coming onto the scene, and you always expected big things from them, as well as Tyler Wright. I mean, you look at the names that have dominated women's surfing for the last, 7 years, and it's always been Steph, Tyler, Sally, Carissa, and they've had it all their own way, and now it's a massive shake-up to see Courtney Conlogue taking out a win at Margaret River. That's the first time someone's won an event since 2011 off those top 4.
A huge stat for Courtney Conlogue to be very proud of. Stopped that crazy streak from Carissa Moore. Started making it feel like it was going to be a runaway year once again, as Carissa took the first couple of event wins of the season. Showed up at Margaret River, and Courtney reminded us that that's one of her pet events. At the QS level, she dominated, loved the size, and we got amazing waves for that event back in West Oz.
I feel like every event is a favorite event for Courtney, and you're like, oh, do you enjoy coming here? Do you like surfing here? She'll have a massive smile on her face and mention about 5 restaurants that she's a local at. I actually went to a coffee shop in Margaret River, and the lady was like, who won the surfing event? And I was Courtney Conlogue. She's like, I love Courtney. She's been coming here for 6 years. I'm so happy she won. So, she really is just loves every spot on tour.
Oh, it's so cool to see Courtney often in her post-heat interviews. She's laughing. Only time she lost her laugh was when she was knocked out early at lower trestles. She wasn't too happy with that. She actually stayed late and looked so serious. Most serious she's been this year. No smile, all business, and wanted to talk to the judges after that matchup, which was very interesting. You just saw the dedication and passion she had to return to #1 in the world, a feat that she did make. Remember, it's such an elite class of individuals that have been the best in the world at different eras. The last decade dominated by Stephanie Gilmore, Carissa Moore sneaking in 2 world titles, Lane Beachley, she was still on tour when you were competing. What about Chelsea Georgeson, Sofia Milanovic? What was the... We'll get back in history in a moment, but looks like Courtney wants this wave. Little late hit, she's down. What was dangerous about Chelsea Hedges back in the day?
Oh, Chelsea was a goofy footer that really set the standard for, style. She just had so much style, was so fluid. And in bigger waves too, Chelsea could ride the barrel so well. I remember Fiji was a stop on tour back then, like it is now, and she was just one of those ladies that excelled, as well as Maui. She really put on great performances there. So you look at Sofia Milanovic and Chelsea Hedges on that list, and those are the girls that inspired this generation.
So cool to see just those new winners kind of separating the domination that we had. Chelsea Hedges snuck hers in, then we had the Gilmore reign. 4 straight titles before we had Carissa Moore kind of finish high school, graduate, and start really putting pressure and create a great rivalry. Courtney's been knocking at the door, and she had a couple moments where she picked up wins in her career, but never had repeat wins in the same season. Then all of a sudden 3 wins in this crazy year. Her surfing's been so solid so far. She's sitting out in front with the lead against Chelsea Tuach, and Chelsea still needs an 8.9. Nice groomed conditions into the evening lights. Priority is with the wild card, and she'll look to break down an 8.9 here. Clean, stylish wrap. Sets her rail and fades into the pocket. Clean little rhythm on that whip into the pocket. Now the lip will show up a bit, attacking it off the top. Little forehand jam. Just packing in the maneuvers way down the beach. She knows she has the ski to pick her up. Might as well dry dock the thing way down the line. Ditching a .73, her best wave so far this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I think that'll give her a bit of confidence and allow her to open up on her next couple of waves. Just kind of feeling that rhythm and getting in tune with the ocean. I think that's what Chelsea needs to do right now. Just reset herself, reset the heat, and look for those opportunities to really open up her surfing.
Well, we think about the position that Chelsea Tuach's in. We got to see her at the U.S. Open earlier this season, but we know this is a huge moment for her, competing on this top level of pro surfing. As now we'll transition with Courtney Conlogue looking for a barrel. Backside tube complete from the Californian. Carves into the pocket. And now running into the inside. It seems like she's one of those surfers that can will a wave to two. Remember the barrel she got at Lowers? When did that happen?
It's just incredible. I mean, not only was that backhand barrel impressive and the positioning that she put herself on in that wave, but also that carve when she came out, just strong, holding that line. The judges love to see you holding your rail through those maneuvers. So I think we're going to look at a massive score for Courtney Conlogue. And what a beautiful wave as it came through in the lineup. Just that crispy kind of evening, beautiful groomed offshore, and just an absolute gem coming Courtney's way.
Yeah, it seems like the conditions haven't even cleaned up in the last few minutes. Let's have another look.
I love the way she just, puts her whole shoulder and everything into that wave to position herself to get barreled on that one, gets deep, and then this turn, just that carving maneuver, just, effortless from Courtney, but with so much power.
Great to see Courtney Conlogue showing the backside tube effort. Now Tuach's wave, the long right-hander.
Yeah, this is a better wave for Chelsea Tuach, and that's what I like to see. I want to see her get warmed up and really get a taste for competition in the big leagues. She will be on the 2016 Women's World Championship Tour, so really cutting her teeth in these events as a wild card is going to be so good for her and give her a bit of confidence moving into the season next year.
Multiple opportunities for turns, a 3.40. For our surfer from Barbados. Great to see new representation on tour. She had a lot of firsts representing Barbados as an athlete. Surfing's her passion. Doing a lot of work with Jimmy Hogan. Definitely Jimmy's watching this heat unfold. He's kind of had a lot of super talents kind of coming from that turf, representing Central America, Costa Rica. Carlos Munoz, we got to see what he did at the Hurley Pro a couple of years ago, also under Hogan's tutelage.
Yeah, that was so much fun to watch Carlos Munoz as a wild card in the event in the Hurley Pro last year. And just the backing that he got from his country to get him into that event, and then seeing him work with Jimmy and just getting through a couple of heats. And, the level of talent that's coming from these surfers is so good to see a couple fresh names in the mix.
Well, great matchup here with Courtney Conlogue and Chelsea Tuach. Remember, Courtney had the 6.83 before. 5.67 on her last. Chelsea needs a 9.10 to take the lead. We'll see if she can come close right after this quick break. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Round two, heat number 3 has got 9:30 remaining on the clock. World number 1, Courtney Conlogue, 12.5 total out front. A 6.83 her high, 5.67 on a backhand tube with a wrap combination. Tuach's best score, 3.4, still needs a 9.10 to try to create the biggest upset of the contest. Kind of thinking about Chelsea's position right now in a huge role in a big contest. Rosie, do you remember that first moment you were in a position like Chelsea, surfing against your heroes at a top stage, and what you had to go through to compete?
Oh man, it's so, you just think about all that emotion and all that kind of putting yourself out there, the vulnerability of competing, and this is your passion, and you want to, really make a statement in one of your first events. So I think for Chelsea, she's really just got to take everything in, let it absorb, and just learn from every little moment that she's in. I mean, she's going to be in these circumstances so much next year. and just really, you know, she's on the world tour for a reason. I think you heard Alessa saying it. You've really got to believe in your own ability if you want to see yourself getting big results.
As we think about that big moment for you, Rosie, what event was it? Can you pinpoint that first moment, kind of like what Chelsea's going through right now?
Yeah, I think, you know, as soon as you start to get that feeling of making it through heats, and when you hear scores and they kind of validate your surfing, that feels pretty good.
This is Tuach now, a little racetrack. She'll pull under the hood for a moment, but ends up going down. Incomplete on the tube effort. Groom conditions and Conlogues on an insane one out the back. High line wrap and cut back from world number 1. Fades it back into the pocket with a nice tight rebound. And she'll just keep fading. Looking like she's in complete control of this matchup. Sneaks in a full roundhouse cutback. Now starting to drive. She'll do something big if she gets a chance. Lay back onto the open face. Perfect track on that rail turn. She's got a bit of variety herself, and she's been kind of enjoying that power hook layback. What do you think about that maneuver?
I like the way she kind of mixes it up. I think that's what the girls are really going for, that variety, that kind of, just also to keep it interesting for themselves. You don't want to be doing that same wrap and carve. You want to mix it up, throw a little Larry down, show that you've got a bit of variety in your repertoire.
We see different versions of that Larry, as you call it, Larry layback. A lot of fun names for it. We've got Carissa Moore's version, Stephanie Gilmore's version. She's back in the jersey. Tyler Wright has a crazy one. Kind of was her go-to move when she first came on tour. Which one's your favorite?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's what makes surfing so unique. It's the same maneuver, but performed differently. Everyone's got their own spice and flair.
As we see Tuach on a little opportunity, she ends up going down. As we see 6:45 remaining on the clock, we want you to join the conversation at WSL on Twitter. Who has the best layback power hack on tour? Give us your men's pick and your women's pick. Right now, Courtney just displayed her in a smaller section. We've seen more powerful gouges out the back when she's had the chance, as we'll take another look at the replay.
Yeah, you see her getting up that speed and laying that board on the rail, like I mentioned, not breaking her line as she goes for that cutback maneuver. And then just really getting busy, a little bit of a bobble there, but you can see she just is so able to really keep that board on a rail and get that rebound, and this is where she kind of looks for something a little bit different to kind of spice it up. There's that layback that we've been talking about, so a lot of aggression. So like I mentioned, that same maneuver, you can do it so many different ways and add your own flavor to it. I mean, John's one that he did in the heat, in the round 1 heat of the Quicksilver Pro was just amazing. I can't stop reflecting on that maneuver.
That was so special to watch. Remember, you can watch all the key moments of the last couple of days on the Heat Analyzer on WorldSurfLeague.com. Boys working hard behind the scenes to get everything up to date. There's quick links to key moments, good scores, and a little icon showing that 10 that we had earlier from Tatiana Weston-Webb, the opening round heat of the Roxy Pro. We're about to hit the 5-minute warning. You know, most of the competitors will be using that heat analyzer as a serious tool. It's kind of what coaches' tool now. It's so organized and documented. It's completely changed the game. Brought to the sport by Sterling Howland and Lachlan Monday a long time ago. Remember, we used to have highlights with music on it. Kind of never knew in a way it was written at a time if you're going to review it. Now it's all documented. You can see what time something happened and really take a lot from it. Rosie, I know you would have loved that when you're on tour.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see. It's got little different markers and little icons that you can click on for each score and just key moments in the heat, like you mentioned. So you can skip right to those moments, watch it again and again, and it's so fun to see, you know, the timing of heats and maybe even to know when you're performing at your best. Do you like being, you know, on the back foot and getting your scores in the last couple of minutes? Do you like to start early and get a big score? So you can kind of get a little bit of an idea of what you're doing in your heat.
Chelsea Tuach winds up. Great timing for the forehand snap. Just a quick one maneuver moment. Still needing a 9.83 to take the lead off Courtney. 4:10 remaining. Courtney able to survive against the wild card. Her last score, a 6.4, actually outdid her backside 2, Brian, that she had earlier in this matchup. I think the judges have that perfect 10 from Tatiana's tube ride still fresh in their mind. There's a smaller wave for Courtney. Anytime you're getting barreled, What beats a barrel, Rosie?
That looks so fun. That makes me want to go surf. So I was just stoked to see that wave come through, and for Courtney to kind of make the most of it like that is interesting to see that approach.
Well, Tuach confirmed to be a rookie on tour full-time next season, joining new faces like Keely Andrew. Like, kind of the crazy part about these names, it's not like they're just coming in hot without seeing him perform before. They had warm-ups this season. Kind of the same thing happened the year before with Tatiana Weston-Webb. She got the call up early as well.
Yeah, and you see the confidence that she's gained for this. Had a great rookie season this year, and I think Chelsea can also learn from these experiences. Keely Andrews, we saw as her injury replacement in Fiji and a couple other stops at Brazil. So, you know, these girls getting that little bit of experience in the big leagues, they're going to bring this into the 2016 tour.
Looking at the 3-minute mark for Conlogue, fresh off a win in Cascais. Just a little hiccup having to deal with round 2, but fun for us to see her perform. She's had 5 waves ridden, and she'll still be holding on to this yellow jersey, moving into round 3, which is non-elimination once again. Kind of when you look at momentum and fire, though, Carissa Moore losing the jersey, she came in hot and was definitely the best performer of the opening round of competition.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a pattern in Carissa Moore. I mean, you know, losing early at the US Open this year, came into Trestles on fire and on a mission, won that event, and then obviously losing at Cascais early. She looks so fired up, our best performer in round 1. And Courtney Conlogue is going to look at her scores and reflect on today and reflect on the other competitors' performances and kind of, you know, really start to position herself and when she's sitting and how her surfing's looking compared to other competitors.
Thumbs up for Courtney Conlogue. Happy now that she knows she survived into the next round of competition. Tomorrow is going to be Saturday here in France, and the waves still look like they could be pretty fun. Talking to Stephanie Gilmore just behind the scenes, she said tomorrow morning looks really fun as far as she's concerned. Looks like we're going to be going back to back to back with days of competition here at the Quicksilver and Roxy Pro.
I love to see that. I mean, the week leading up to this event, absolutely dead flat. I tried to free surf and couldn't even. So now all of this swell is just kind of making me so happy that there's adequate surf for the people to perform and to go back to back and keep this contest interesting and exciting.
Well, big key heats we still have to get through in round 2, heat number 4. Another surfer that had to deal with the flat spell was Sally Fitzgibbons. She was actually paddling out even when it was flat. She didn't know what to do with herself. She still wanted to try to catch a wave. She'd come in and say, well, it wasn't breaking. She'll be on there on dark, ready to perform. Fitzgibbons does have Pauline Nadeau, a wild card, but not just any old wild card. She used to compete full-time on the top 17 a couple years ago.
Yeah, and she's used to getting great results here in France. I mean, she is a young French girl. She lives just up the road. She grew up just up the road in Anglet. She actually has a house here in Hossegor. So, you know, she'll know these waves and these banks so well. And coming in as a wild card replacement for Laura Enova, the last-minute call-up, it's so impressive to see that matchup with Sally.
Such a dangerous draw for Fitzgibbons. Could potentially be the first seat in the lineup, or potentially round 3 action from the Quicksilver Pro. Looking at a potential start for Julian Wilson taking on Brett Simpson in that early matchup. As we're coming down to the wire here with 20 seconds on the clock. Solid performance from Conlogue. Chelsea Tuach definitely leaving with a lot of experience surfing at the top stage, and looking forward to seeing what she's going to do next season. And now looking at the clock winding down. We'll close out a beautiful day as the sun's setting right behind the scenes here in Hossegor. An epic Friday. Big moments from the Quicksilver Pro and Roxy Pro as Courtney's going to take a final wave. Might as well get barreled on her way in. What was the key moment for you on this gigantic day of surfing, Ro?
Oh, wow. I mean, Tatiana Weston-Webb's 10, I think, to kick off the Roxy Pro was so impressive to me. And then also Carissa Moore, her performance. And, you know, I think round 1 for me of the Roxy Pro was really standout surfing.
So many amazing highlights to drift through, starting off with the sunrise of the Quicksilver Pro, those major upsets in that first heat out of the gates. Courtney Conlogue closing out the day for us with a 13.23 total and taking out Chelsea Tuach as Courtney moves on to round 3. Now we're going to get a chance to review some big moments from this big day of surfing on the set with Ronnie Blakey, Peter Mell, and Ross Williams.
Thank you, Joe and Rosie Hodge there. Great job calling those last couple of heats of the day, and they were pressure cooker heats. Some big results. coming up. What's up, Pete?
I just look at that beautiful sunset behind your head there. It's gorgeous. Look at that.
It's really
That's amazing.
This is real, folks. That's not fake.
No, it's not. That's not lights.
It's been a perfect day,
It has.
really, here in the southwest of France, and a huge day. A lot of competition, a lot of upsets on the Quicksilver Pro side. We saw some huge heats early on, but getting all the way through the first 3 heats of the second round for the women this afternoon in the Roxy Pro. In that first heat of round 2, it was a crucial battle for Silvana Lima. She was basically putting all her hopes for a requalification spot into that clash, and she fell short.
It's amazing that a woman with that much talent, and how she started the season off. I mean, she was like one to watch the entire first couple events, and then all of a sudden it's just fallen apart. I have no idea what to pinpoint.
Full-on spotlight thief, though, here, Joanne Defay. She just came out early on, Ross. She blitzed this ride, a 9.67.
Well, 2 different stories going on here. Joanne Defay, talk about finding her groove on tour, getting a win at Huntington Beach, and then she's really, just steadied the ship. She's been able to be consistent, and that's the nemesis for Silvana Lima. She's been really bright in certain areas, and then she's been kind of clumsy and falling here and there. And we all thought that she was going to be a top 3 surfer at the end of the year. It's a definite shock to see her, struggling.
It took Joanna a while to find the backup score, but when she did, she absolutely slammed a left-hander. She got another big number at 8.5, and Silvana was left comboed at the end of that clash.
And that comes from the experience here at this beach, making a move to catch a left. It stood up, it gave her the opportunity, and making those adjustments and those tide changes, it's exactly what she needed to do, and she performed very, very well.
And it was a really, really good pat on the back for all those fans that stuck around throughout the afternoon to cheer Joanne on, because they love getting behind their European surfers. Now, the next big heat, Bianca Batendar up against Alessa Quizon. Bianca, the easy favourite, the easy pick for me going into this heat, but Alessa, she just ground out a win in the end.
I think it was the challenging conditions, and I think that that's where Alessa kind of can shine, is that, once there's a kind of funky deal going on, Alessa was able to get those scores. There was that one good wave here, and then maybe, I think Bianca maybe being a little bit too picky towards the end there and not really able to back up that good score.
I love that snap, though, right there from Alessa. Sometimes for me, Alessa can get kind of hung up going straight down the line and surfing a little bit horizontal with the beach, but that was a really nice pivot off the bottom and a quick, nice snap there for Alessa Quizon. So I know she didn't have a great heat, but, showing some glimpses of brilliance here.
And also just sticking it out and grinding her way to a win. You couldn't basically find a lot of gem waves this afternoon, and she wasn't able to get herself onto a special ride seat, but she did enough.
This was a prime example of exactly what you're talking about, grinding through that middle section, really hard to surf, and then all of a sudden, bang, she got that final move right there, and that's really, that was a big part of that wave, was that final explanation.
Yeah, I've been missing some of those fireworks from Alessa since she graduated to the CT ranks, so good to see her put it together and get a huge win. It'll be a huge confidence booster too. Bianca Batendar, she was in 5th position on the ratings coming into this contest, so that is a monster upset. Well, we just saw the last heat play out too, heat 3 of round number 2. Courtney Conlogue, the current Jeep ratings leader, she got the job done. She got the win over Chelsea Tuach, and she is down on the beach with Strider Wasilewski. Well, we'll try and get to them in a moment. It looks like we're struggling with the audio there, but a strong performance from Courtney. I don't think she was ever going to be challenged by Chelsea. No disrespect to Chelsea, but the way that Courtney is surfing at the moment, Pete, she's going to be hard to beat for anyone, let alone a wild card.
And for me, it's not just the surfing. She's doing everything right around everything. She's enjoying Europe, seeing the sights, soaking it all in, experiencing life, and then coming to the beach and showing up with the perfect tactical. She moved up the beach with Mom, sat on top, looked at the bank, watched and studied, because she knew very well that the changing conditions would be absolutely different from her first round heat, and she did that so well. And that's what I'm talking about. Just everything she does is around this world title bid.
Yeah, solid team, aren't they?
Yeah, it's incredible.
The Conlogue family, they work well together, and just have a look at Courtney's, just her power. It's undeniable, and that's what was hard to match for Chelsea. She found a couple of okay waves, but just the size of Courtney's turns, they're monster.
Well, and also let's keep in mind the reason why Courtney was in round 2 is because she kind of got spanked a little bit by Coco. Coco put on an awesome performance and relegated to her her to round 2. But Courtney, as you said, Pete, she's super resilient, and that's a testament to how, you know, she can bounce back in these pressure situations. Now, I know that Tuach didn't put up much of a fight, but I just like, you know, you're right, Pete. She doesn't complain. You know, when she has to buckle down, this is late in the evening here, she said, fine, I'll have another heat and watch a beautiful sunset and get a win.
Yeah, exactly it. She did that.
And she's back into the third round, which will be reseeded, a non-elimination heat. So, you know, she'll take a lot of confidence from that second round performance into that clash. Going to be good, Pete.
I love it. I think we'll be back tomorrow. You know, looking at, what are you going to do, bud? Looking at it. Don't wring my neck.
Hey, we are loving the scarf, by the way.
I know. You know how much heckling I'm getting on social? And I rock it all day long.
Plenty
Bring
more
it
to
on,
come.
everyone. I like you.
He's not afraid.
Well, we got more
Not afraid of the
action
scarf.
coming your way. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Dawn Patrol. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
Fear the scarf.
Cold heart of stone, attached to bury the
Having another look at this one down the beach, folks. Cast your eyes on the water. Kelly's in the barrel. Can he come out of this one? There he goes.
Kelly keep busy. He's having a look at a nice clean insider once again.
A feeling to think twice, a cry that she calls a moan.
Jeremy just stalling, pulling up under the curtain, standing tall, and he gets puffed out.
Here's Nat Young choosing his forehand, stretched out bottom turn. He sneaks in under the hood and comes out. Ricardo getting a little bit of drive, sets his line. You can see his blue jersey all the way out. Now Kersey on the backhand, a wide open pit. He gets shot out.
A feeling she is alone, an empty phone on the wall. A smiling people are nice, a look of shimmering tone.
She starts to stall for the pitch. She gets barreled. She's going to come out. This is going to be a monster score for Tatiana.
You're not sorry to me now.
More action to come here. Carissa Moore, a huge carve to start. Laid back jam.